Love you, Mom.
I love you too, babe.
Bye.
All right. See you later. Thank you. All right, let's get started. We are going to first go over for intermediate the last of the chapter 19 lecture notes because there was one other good example that I thought we could work through that might help us to understand it a little bit better. So this is a lot like the problem potentially that's on the exam. I think it's going to be more like this one, but I want you to be comfortable with another version of it. And so the common shares are 100,000. And then the convertible preferred shares. There are 12,000 convertible preferred shares, and they can be convertible into 32,000 shares of common stock. And there's $1 million in convertible 10% bonds convertible to 30,000 shares. So we need to know if they pay dividends on this or if those are cumulative or non-cumulative, but it says that we paid a dividend on them of $5 per share. And there's 12,000 shares. So the first thing I need to do is I need to just calculate basic earnings per share. So basic earnings per share is the net income, which is 500,000, minus the preferred dividends. And the preferred dividends are $5 per share times 12,000 shares. So that would be 60,000 divided by the weighted average number of common shares outstanding. And it looks like there's 100,000 shares last year and this year. That's why they give that to you, because you need to know if the denominator needs to be different from one year to another. If more shares were issued, if this said 100 and this said 150, it won't on the exam. But if it did, then you would need to know when the additional 50,000 shares were issued and how you're going to handle that. But we're just going to do 100,000. So we have 440 over 100, or 440 is the earnings per share. And remember that this is basic. And from there, we have to look at each of these securities separately to see if they are dilutive or antidilutive. So the new number of shares, if we're looking at, this is the preferred shares, the convertible preferred shares is the first one we're looking at. And so the new number of shares, we used to have 100,000 shares. But if those convertible preferred shares convert, then we'll have an additional 32,000. So we'll have 132,000 downstairs. We would pay no preferred dividends if we converted them. So we would not have to pay this 60,000. And so the new earnings per share would be 500,000 minus 0 divided by 132. And again, I don't know if that's going to make it get bigger or littler. It made it go to 3.79. So this is dilutive because it went down compared to the 440. So now we would look at the next security, and these are the convertible bonds. I can see that the interest on the bonds, 10% of $1 million is 100,000 in interest. Net of taxes, 100,000 times 0.6 is 60,000. So my net income is going to change. So now we're looking at the bonds, and the first thing, the first thing that we would point out is we've got to start with basic. And so it's just the same as above. 4.40 is basic earnings per share. I'm going to go ahead and just type it. So 500 minus 60,000 divided by 100,000 equals. Okay, so 440 is the basic earnings per share. My new number of shares if we convert these bonds. And we're looking at these completely separately from the preferred shares. So we're just comparing basic to if the convertible bonds are converted. So the new number of shares would be an additional 30,000 shares. We already have 100, so we would have 132. No, 30. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right one. Yeah, 30,000. So 130,000 is the new number of shares. So we would pay no interest on the bonds, which would save us money on interest expense. So what we will do is we'll say I equals PRT. Sorry. So that is 1 million times 10% for 1 year. So So 100,000, and then take it times 0.6 to do it net of taxes. And this would be the savings net of taxes. Okay. So from there, our new earnings per share, and look, it says is dilutive. So it's going to be less than 440 because I told you, but we are going to take 500. Oops. Oh my gosh. Bark. That's what I used to monitor Lauren's phone. So my net income is no longer 500. Now my net income is 560 because my net income is going to go up. So we don't have to pay interest, which saves us money, which makes the net income go up. All right, but we still have our preferred dividends of 60, and now we'll divide by 130. So 500 over 130, 3.85. So again, yep, it's dilutive. So now I want to know what the combined one would be. And it looks like I did it for you, but I didn't want to. So if I were to calculate this myself, and then I'll show you what it says below, but maybe I thought I was going to run out of time or something. So we need to find EPS when both securities are converted. So let's go through each item. All right, so new number of shares. We're going to say it was the original 100 and the 32 and the 30. So now our new number of shares downstairs is 162. Our new net income would be the 560 and no preferred dividends paid because we converted them. So we converted the bonds so we didn't have to pay the interest, which saved us money here. No preferred dividends. So it would be the 560 minus 0 divided by 162, which would be 3.46. So this is the number that you would actually report as diluted earnings per share. So you would report basic of 440, diluted of 3.46. So it looks like I went ahead and detailed that out here. The bonds paid 10,000 on the million, or 10% interest on the million. All right, so this is just another explanation of it. So I hope that helps. And then there's the 3.46 that I just found. So, so I just wanted to share this with you so that you could have that additional information for this problem, because this problem is a very good one to practice to get ready for your exam. So, all right, that's all I needed to share with you. So thank you. Stop recording.